Martin Muses, where everything is awesome and where we are talking about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm finally back to this. Now, I actually was ready for this chapter before Christmas, but life happened, and then the Hedge Knight happened, and now I'm back. So I'm so happy to be here and be here with you all. So, for all of you that will be watching and will be joining us and will be watching in the replay or during the replay, I welcome you here to Mr. Martin Muses. And if you like books, if you like fun, if you like good things that make you happy, and occasionally you might hear me rant and rave every now and then, well, please give me a like, share, and a subscribe. And here we go. We are now on chapter 4 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Philosopher's Stone, I know is a more correct word, but you know what? This is the version I have, so this is the version I am using. Now, Harry Potter with the Dursleys is out in the middle of nowhere in the island, and someone, let's see, what was it? It was someone was outside knocking to come in. Well, who was it? I'm glad you asked. Boom! Dudley jerked awake. Where's the cannon? That's actually kind of cool. There was a crash behind them, and Uncle Vernon came skidding into the room. He was holding a rifle in his hands. Of course, I'm thinking, England? Okay, how? Well, maybe someone can help me out with that. Now they knew what had been in the long, thin package. Yeah, dude brought a gun. My gosh. Who's there? He shouted. I warn you. I'm armed. There was a pause, then smash. The door was hit with such force that it swung clean off its hinges and landed flat on the floor, as it says here. So obviously someone is very, very strong. Well, who is so strong? It is a giant of a man was standing in the doorway. His face was almost completely hidden by a long, shaggy mane of hair and a wild, tangled beard. But you could make out his eyes glinting like black beetles all under the hair. So this is our description of Hagrid. He's a giant of a man, long shaggy mane of hair, wild tangled beard, and black beetle-like eyes under all the hair. The giant squeezed his way into the hut, stooping so that his head just brushed the ceiling. He bent down, picked up the door, and fitted it easily back into its frame. Couldn't make us a cup of tea, could you? It's not been an easy journey. Everyone loves a cup of tea when you're cold and freezing and in Britain and wet. He strode over to the sofa where Dudley sat frozen with fear. Budge up, you great lump, said the stranger. Kind of rude. Dudley squeaked and ran to hide behind his mother, who was crouching, terrified, behind Uncle Vernon. Ah, here's Harry, said the giant. Harry looked up into the fierce, wild, shadowy face and saw that the beetle eyes were crinkled in a smile. So we have a friendly person here. Last time I saw you, you was only a baby, said the giant. You look a lot like your dad, but you've got your mum's eyes. So this is the first time we hear that Harry has his mother's eyes. At least I think it's the first time. It's been a while since I read the first 3 chapters. But I don't think that Hagrid ever mentioned that in the movie adaptations. But, that's okay. Uncle Vernon made a funny, raspy noise. I demand that you leave at once, sir. You are breaking and entering. Ah, shut up, Dursley, you great prune, said the giant. He jerked the gun out of Uncle Vernon's hand, bent it into a knot as easily as if it had been made of rubber, and threw it into the corner of the room. Uncle Vernon made another funny noise, like a mouse being trodden on. Aha, the bully is being bullied. Anyway, Harry, said the giant, turning his back on the Dursleys, a very happy birthday to you. Got something for you here. I might have sat on it at some point, but it'll taste all right. And he pulls out from his coat a squashed box. Harry opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a large, sticky chocolate cake. Chocolate. With Happy Birthday Harry written on it in green icing. Harry looked up at the giant. He meant to say thank you, but the words got lost on the way to his mouth. And what he said instead was, "Who are you?" True, I haven't introduced myself. Rubius Hagrid, keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts. And he shakes Harry's, well, tries to shake Harry's hand, but she says that ends up shaking his entire arm. What about that tea then, eh? I'd not say no to Summit Stronger if you got it, mind. His eyes fell on the empty grate with the shriveled chip bags in it, and he snorted. He bent down over the fireplace. They couldn't see what he was doing, but when he drew back a second later, there was a roaring fire there. It filled the whole damp hut with flickering light, and Harry felt the warmth wash over him as though he'd sunk into a hot bath. I'll tell you what, when you're cold and wet and in England, hot water bottle, that reminds me of hot water bottle, hot tea, and just the way a roaring fire can just make you feel just so good and like getting into a hot bath. And the giant all sits down, everything's sagging underneath him because he's big, because he's a giant. Well, we learn later, of course, that he is a half giant. And check this out. He begins taking all sorts of things out of the pockets of his coat. A copper kettle, a squashy package of sausages, a poker, a teapot, several chipped mugs, and a bottle of some amber liquid that he took a swig from before starting to make tea. So he has everything with him. And so now I can just imagine everything smelling good and cooking. Nobody said a thing while the giant was working. But as he slid the first 6 fat, juicy, slightly burnt sausages from the poker, Dudley fidgeted a little. Uncle Vernon said sharply, "Don't touch anything he gives you, Dudley. Your great puddin' of a son doesn't need fattening anymore, Dursley. Don't worry." So he's very familiar with the Dursleys here. He passed the sausages to Harry, who was so hungry he had never tasted anything so wonderful. Finally, as nobody seemed about to explain anything, he said, "I'm sorry, but I don't really know who you are." "Call me Hagrid," he said. "Everyone does. And like I told you, I'm keeper of the keys at Hogwarts. You'll know all about Hogwarts, of course." No," said Harry. Hagrid looked shocked. "Sorry?" Harry said quickly. "Sorry," barked Hagrid. "It's them that should be sorry. I knew you weren't getting your letters, but I never thought you wouldn't even know about Hogwarts, for crying out loud. Did you never wonder where your parents learned it all?" "All what?" asked Harry. "All what?" Hagrid thundered. Yeah, so he isn't outraged. It is an outrage that Harry doesn't know anything. But, of course, I don't know. Why would he think that the Dursley would tell him? Maybe because he thought, I don't know, maybe they were better than they really are. And the Dursleys are at this point, they're cowering away. "Do you mean to tell me," he growled at the Dursleys, "that this boy knows nothing about anything?" Harry thought this was going a bit far. He had been to school after all, and his marks weren't bad. "I know some things," he said. I can, do math." And that is really a typical schoolboy reaction. Well, he's 11. He's like, "What do you mean I don't know it? I know lots of things." But Hagrid simply waved a hand and said, "About our world. I mean, your world, my world, your parents' world." "What world?" Hagrid looked as though he was about to explode. "Dursley!" he boomed. Uncle Vernon, who had gone very pale, whispered something that sounded like Mimblewimble. "But you must know about your mom and dad. I mean, they're famous. You're famous." "What? My mom and dad weren't famous, were they? You don't know. You don't know. You don't know what you are." Uncle Vernon suddenly found his voice. "Stop! Stop right there, sir! I demand you. Sorry, I forbid you to tell the boy anything." And of course, that's all in a British accent. A braver man than Vernon Dursley would have quailed under the furious look Hagrid now gave him. When Hagrid spoke, his every syllable trembled with rage. "You never told him. Never told him what was in the letter Dumbledore left for him. I was there. I saw Dumbledore leave it, Dursley. And you've kept it from him all these years? Kept what from me? Said Harry eagerly. Stop, I forbid you! Yelled Uncle Vernon in panic. Aunt Petunia gave a gasp of horror. I'll go boil your heads, both of you. Harry, you're a wizard. The famous line. Though in the movie, of course, you're a wizard, Harry. There was silence in the hut. Only the sea and the whistling wind could be heard. It was out. I'm a what? Gasped Harry. A wizard, of course. And a thumping good un. I'd say once you've been trained up a bit. What, with a mum and dad like yours, what else would you be? And I reckon it's about time you read your letter. And so he pulls out the letter to him, and this time around, it's addressed to, Harry Potter, the floor, hut on the rock, the sea. And it basically is from Headmaster Albus Dumbledore, Order of Merlin, First Class, Grand Soar? Yeah, that is what it says. Chief Warlock, Supreme Mugwump, International Confederacy of Wizards. Or rather, that's the, whatever you call it, stampy thingy that's at the beginning of a letter. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find an enclosed list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on September 1st. As everyone knows, you can go to the King's Cross Station, and the Hogwarts will leave on September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. So it's from McGonagall. We love McGonagall at Miss Martin Muses. Questions exploded inside Harry's head like fireworks, and he couldn't decide which to ask first. What does it mean they await my owl? Gollop and Gorgons, that reminds me, said Hagrid, clapping a hand to his forehead with enough force to knock over a cart horse. I like these little imageries that show us how really strong he is. And he pulls out from another pocket inside his long, big old overcoat an owl, a real live, rather ruffled-looking owl. I was going to say, yeah, the poor owl's been in his coat this whole time, a long quill and a roll of parchment. And he writes, Dear Professor Dumbledore, given Harry his letter, taking him to buy his things tomorrow. Weather's horrible. Hope you're well, Hagrid. That's a very British letter. And Hagrid rolled up the note and gave it to the owl, which clamped it in its beak, went to the door, and threw the owl out into the storm. Poor owl. And then he came back and sat down as though this was as normal as talking on the telephone. Harry realized his mouth was open and closed it quickly. Where was I? Said Hagrid, but at that moment Uncle Vernon, still ashen-faced, but looking very angry, moved into the firelight. He's not going. Hagrid grunted. I'd like to see a great muggle like you stop him. A what? Said Harry, interested. A muggle. It's what we call non-magic folk like them. And it's your bad luck you grew up in a family of the biggest muggles I ever laid eyes on. Now, this has been a question that raged even while the books were coming out and the movies and everything is, that's kind of a bad attitude. It's almost a racial superiority thing going on or something about, that they're better than the muggles and that someone that's not magic is, called like a silly name like that, and also looked down so upon. So like the fact that the Dursleys are so horrible, it's like they're super muggles, which is kind of bad. We swore when we took him in we'd put a stop to that rubbish, said Uncle Vernon. Swore we'd stamp it out of him, wizard indeed. You knew, said Harry. You knew I'm a wizard? Knew, shrieked Aunt Petunia suddenly. Knew? Of course we knew. How could you not be, my dreaded sister being what she was? Oh, she got a letter just like that and disappeared off to that school and came home every vacation with her pockets full of frog spawn, turning teacups into rats. I was the only one who saw her for what she was, a freak. But for my mother and father, oh no, it was literally this and literally that. They were proud of having a witch in the family. We know that there's jealousy behind all of this. And I guess a person could get that even without knowing what we know at the end. She kept ranting and ranting and ranting, it says here, and rolling in the voice says it seemed as though she had been wanting to say this all for saying all this for years. Then she met that Potter at school, and they left and got married and had you. And of course, I knew you'd be the same, just as strange, just as abnormal. And then, if you please, she went and got herself blown up, and we got landed with you. Talk about some serious verbal abuse. Oh, speaking of which, when she's talking about Lily turning teacups into rats, that means that Lily was doing magic outside of Hogwarts after she had come to Hogwarts. So at this point, maybe Rowling didn't know or have established in her head the rule about you couldn't do magic out of Hogwarts, because that would have meant Lily would have been expelled. Apparently not. Harry had gone very white. Blown up? You told me they died in a car crash. Car crash? Roared Hagrid. How could a car crash kill Lily and James Potter? It's an outrage, a scandal. Well, really, it could have happened. Harry Potter not knowing his own story when every kid in our world knows his name. Maybe in many ways it was good for Harry to not have this, but maybe not be with this kind of family, this kind of foster family, if you will. But why? What happened? The anger faded from Hagrid's face. He looked suddenly anxious. I never expected this. I had no idea when Dumbledore told me there might be some trouble getting hold of you and how much you didn't know. Oh, Harry, I don't know if I'm the right person to tell you, but someone's gotta. You can't go off to Hogwarts not knowing. Look how good he is, and he's thinking about Harry, and he's caring about Harry. He threw a dirty look at the Dursleys. Well, it's best you know as much as I can tell you. Mind, I can't tell you everything. It's a great mystery, parts of it. Oh boy, is it a mystery. And we're all thinking, what, for the next 10 years of our lives until the last book came out, we didn't know. It begins, I suppose, with a person called, but it's incredible you don't know his name. Everyone in our world knows. Who? Well, I don't like saying the name if I can help it. No one does. Why not? Gulpin gargoyles. Harry, people are still scared. Blimey, this is difficult. See, there was this wizard who went bad as you could go. Worse and worse. So in the book, he's telling Harry this whole story in front of the Dursleys as well as out in the hut area. I think it was a better decision for it to happen later. I think that maybe he wouldn't want to say this in front of the Dursleys, but oh well. Could you write it down? Harry suggested. Nah, I can't spell it. All right, Voldemort. Hagrid shuddered. Don't make me say it again. Anyway, this wizard, about 20 years ago now, started looking for followers. Got him to. Some were afraid. Some just wanted a bit of his power because he was getting himself power all right. Dark days, Harry. Didn't know who to trust. Didn't dare get friendly with strange wizards or witches. Terrible things happened. He was taken over. Of course, some stood up to him, and he killed them. One of the only safe places left was Hogwarts. Reckon Dumbledore's the only one you know who was afraid of. This is the second time in the books that we have heard that Dumbledore's the only one that he's afraid of. Now, your mom and dad were as good a witch and wizard as I ever knew. Head boy and girl at Hogwarts in their day. Suppose the mystery is why you know whoever tried to get him on his side before probably knew they were too close to Dumbledore to want anything to do with the dark side. Maybe he thought he could persuade him. Maybe he just wanted him out of the way. We all know now. But all anyone knows is he turned up in the village where you was all living. Yeah, it's hard to read this with the bad when he's got the bad grammar. On Halloween, 10 years ago, you was just a year old. He came to your house and at this point he's blowing his nose and he's so big it sounds like a foghorn. Another image. I'm sorry, but it's that sad. You know who killed him. And then, and this is the real mystery of the thing, he tried to kill you too. That's pretty low, trying to kill a baby. Wanted to make a clean job of it, I suppose, or maybe just like killing by then. Well, we, of course, know now that, well, no, because of the prophecy and everything. But he couldn't do it. Never wondered how you got that mark on your forehead? That is no ordinary cut. That's what you get when a powerful evil curse touches you. Took care of your mom and dad and your house even, but it didn't work on you, and that's why you're famous, Harry. No one ever lived after he decided to kill him. No one except you. Yeah, the house blew up, the parents blew up. And then he mentioned some names, the McKinnons, the Bones, the Pruitts, that those were some of the finest wizards of the age. Would it say they say the finest wizards or some of the best, witches and wizards. And we know these names. And you was only a baby, and you lived. Something very painful was going on in Harry's mind. As Hagrid's story came to a close, he saw again the blinding flash of green light. He remembered something else for the first time in his life. A high, cold, cruel laugh. Because Voldemort is a jerk. But of course, we all know who has the last laugh. Hagrid was watching him sadly. Took you from the ruined house myself on Dumbledore's orders, brought you to this lot. Lot of old tosh, said Uncle Vernon. Harry jumped. He had almost forgotten the Dursleys were there. Yeah, so they heard all this story. Uncle Vernon certainly seemed to have got back his courage. He was glaring at Hagrid, and his fists were clenched. Now you listen here, boy, he snarled. I accept there's something strange about you. Probably nothing a good beating wouldn't have cured. My gosh, yeah, we're going total Charles Dickens here. And as for all this about your parents, well, they were weirdos, no denying it, and the world's better off without them, in my opinion. You see, that is some awful things to say about a boy's parents. Asked for what they got, getting mixed up with those wizarding types. Just what I expected. Always knew they'd come to a sticky end. This is not okay. This is not okay, what he's saying. But at that moment, Hagrid leapt from the sofa and drew a battered pink umbrella from inside his coat. Pointing this at Uncle Vernon like a sword, he said, I'm warning you, Dursley. I'm warning you. One more word. And at this point, Uncle Vernon's courage failed again. He flattened himself against the wall and fell silent. That's better, said Hagrid, breathing heavily. Harry, meanwhile, still had a lot of questions to ask. Hundreds of them. But what happened to you know who. Good question, Harry. Disappeared, vanished. Same night he tried to kill you. Makes you even more famous. That's the biggest mystery, you see. He was getting more and more powerful. Why'd he go? Well, he had no choice. We all know about the Horcruxes, etc. Man, we didn't know about the Horcruxes till book 6. Some say he died. Codswallop, in my opinion, to know if he had enough human left in him to die. Little he knows. Some say he's still out there biding his time, but I don't believe it. People who was on his side came back to ours. Some of them came out of kind of trances. Oh yeah, the what was it? The compulsion curse? I forget which one that one is. Some definitely were in it, and they say that maybe some people pretended to be under it. Don't reckon they could have done if he was coming back about getting out of the trance. Yeah, most of us reckon he's still out there somewhere, but lost his powers. Too weak to carry on. Because something about you finished him. There was something going on that night he hadn't counted on. Lily's love! I didn't know what it was. No one does. I do. But something about you stumped him all right. It's the power of love. Hagrid looked at Harry with warmth and respect blazing in his eyes. But Harry, instead of feeling pleased and proud, felt quite sure there had been a horrible mistake. A wizard? Him? How could he possibly be? He'd spent his life being clouded by Dudley and bullied by Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon. If he was really a wizard, why hadn't they been turned into warty toads every time they tried to lock him in his cupboard? If he'd once defeated the greatest sorcerer in the world, sorry, this is funny. How come Dudley has always been able to kick him around like a football? Good point. I'm just imagining Dudley just drop kicking him. Hagrid, he said quietly, I think you must have made a mistake. I don't think I can be a wizard. To his surprise, Hagrid chuckled. Not a wizard, eh? Never made things happen when you was scared or angry? Harry looked into the fire. Now he came to think about it. Every odd thing that had ever made his aunt and uncle furious with him had happened when he, Harry, had been upset or angry. Chased by Dudley's gang, he had somehow found himself out of their reach, dreading to go to school with that ridiculous haircut. He'd managed to make it grow back. You see, it's all coming back. Now, maybe in this new version, they'll have like little flashbacks with him saying this. I don't know. I don't know how it can be any good. And the very last time Dudley had hit him, hadn't he got his revenge without even realizing he was doing it? Hadn't he set a boa constrictor on him? Yeah, see, this is also fantasy wish fulfillment. Every kid that's ever been bullied, they would love to do this to their bully. Harry looked back at Hagrid, smiling, and saw that Hagrid was positively beaming at him. You see? Harry Potter, not a wizard. You wait. You'll be right famous at Hogwarts. Little he knows. Uncle Vernon Uncle Vernon is not happy. He's glowering and all this, and he still wants to fight it all. Haven't I told you he's not going? He hissed. He's going to Stonewall High, and he'll be grateful for it. I've read those letters, and he needs all sorts of rubbish, spell books and wands, and if he wants to go, a great muggle like you won't stop him, growled Hagrid. Stop Lily and James Potter's son going to Hogwarts? You're mad. His name's been down ever since he was born. Yeah, poor Harry. The whole sense of predestination the poor kid had, and we now know that that Dumbledore was, for lack of a better word, getting him ready like a lamb for the slaughter. He's off to the finest school of witchcraft and wizardry in the world. Yeah, Hagrid's a bit of a simp for Hogwarts and everyone in it. 7 years there, and he won't know himself. He'll be with youngsters of his own sort for a change, and he'll be under the greatest headmaster Hogwarts ever had, Albus Dumbledore. I am not paying for some crackpot old fool to teach him magic tricks, yelled Uncle Vernon. But he had finally gone too far. Actually, it kind of surprises me that that was what put him over the edge, as opposed to the horrible things that he was saying about Harry's parents. Never insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me. And he brought the umbrella swishing down through the air to point at Dudley. There was a flash of violet light, a sound like a firecracker, a sharp squeal, and the next second, Dudley was dancing on the spot with his hands clasped over his fat bottom, howling in pain. Now, all right, explain this to me. I think that this book rightly took criticism for things like this. It's one thing if he had done it to Uncle Vernon, but he took it out on Dudley. In the movie, they changed it up so that Dudley was trying to steal Harry's cake, and that was why he did it. But he's punishing the kid for something his dad did, and that's not okay. It comes off as cruel. When he turned his back on them, Harry saw a curly pig's tail poking through a hole in his trousers. So in this case, he's not making him into a pig for trying to steal Harry's cake. He's doing it because he is, basically fat. Uncle Vernon roared, pulling Aunt Petunia and Dudley into the other room. He cast one last terrified look at Hagrid and slammed the door behind them. Now, at this point, if Uncle Vernon and Aunt Petunia had a hatred for the wizarding world and for Hagrid and all of what it stands for, this is justified. Shouldn't have lost me temper, he said ruefully, but it didn't work anyways. meant to turn him into a pig, but I suppose he was so much like a pig, there wasn't much left to do. You see, again, that's just not okay. Be grateful if you didn't mention that to anyone at Hogwarts. I'm not supposed to do magic, strictly speaking. I was allowed to do a bit following your. I can't. It's hard for me to read this language here. Or the way it's written, his voice thing. I guess Cockney. I was allowed to do a bit to follow your and get your letters and your stuff. I just can't do it. And I can't do the accent. One of the reasons I was so keen to take on the job. Why aren't you supposed to do magic? Well, I was at Hogwarts myself, but I got expelled, to tell you the truth. In me third year, they snapped me wand in half and everything, but Dumbledore let me stay on as gamekeeper. Great man, Dumbledore. Yeah. We know he got expelled, and of course he doesn't tell him why. And then interesting that Harry never asked, because if Hogwarts is such a great school, and he managed to get himself expelled. Oh, speaking of which, why were you expelled? It's getting late. We got lots to do tomorrow, said Hagrid loudly. Gotta get up to town, get all your books and that. He took off his thick black coat and threw it to Harry. You can keep under that. Don't mind if it wiggles a bit. I think I still got a couple of dormice in one of the pockets. Yeah, so he's got all these animals with him, and that's how it ends. That's how it ends. So we have the introduction of Hagrid. We get the backstory of what happened to Lily and James and Harry on that night. We know a little more about Voldemort. Like bit by bit, Rowling is revealing to us what is going on. So there it is. There it is. Thank you. I've been seeing everyone coming in and out. Thank you for being here. And if you maybe want to do a reread of this, that's probably a good thing as well. I'm going to be putting this in the playlist, and maybe as we're getting closer to the TV show, also have a revisit of this book. I've got some live streams coming up. We're going to be doing the Fistful of Dollars for the Cowboy Campfire. We're going to be casting a Wheel of Time properly with Prophet of the Dragon, and the January challenge is still in full swing, where you can do 10 different kinds of detective TV shows, episode of a TV show or of a movie. I'm very loose about it because it is a casual challenge. It is a casual challenge. So you do that, and if you would like to, and we're going to be talking about that in February. So have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain to read good literature, read good books, and don't waste your time on garbage.